what are things that people who are watching this podcast won't get unless we give this thing to them now?
I mean, one thing I guess that could be useful to ask are what are some, and this may not be for like newer Orthodox people, but what are some spiritual practices that maybe you tried or didn't work, or you tried and did work, and how do you recommend just kind of figuring these things out? That might be something worth asking, because a lot of people, you know, I mean, it's like anything else. You enter into the church and you're essentially an infant, and you have to learn how to walk, and usually you learn how to walk by learning how not to fall. And so, you know, I've been Orthodox now for almost 15 years, and most of what I do now is formed exclusively from knowing what not to do. I guess what I would recommend is whatever your priest tells you to do. So for example, my first Lent, I was at St. Nick's, and Father Nick gave me a very simple fasting rule. It was not the full extent of Great Lent, to which I said, I can do it, and I'm not going to listen to you because you're giving me something. It was very simple. It was basically, I think he blessed me to eat dairy, which is basically what we do to people here, right?
When they first start.
Right, when they first start. And so he's like, you know, avoid red meat, avoid chicken, you can have fish, whatever, but try this thing, because I had never experienced like a full 40-day fast.
Sure.
So I was like, I can do it, and I lost, I think, 20-some pounds. I did not weigh.
You probably
didn't
have 20 pounds.
I didn't have 20 pounds to give, so I entered into Pascha, I think, at 120 to 115 pounds. Just nothing. There was nothing there, and it was bad. I was emaciated, and Father Nick was like, "What did we learn?" And I was like, "I learned to listen to you." Like I learned not to do my own thing. But I see this even today. It's like I'll tell people, you know, there's a reason that we tell people not to go all the way right away.
Right.
It's because, you know, we've lived a life not doing these things. So if we try and just jump in, like the fasting rules, for example, the fasting rules were established by monks in monasteries who've been fasting all their life, right? So you can't go from living an American life where you've eaten, you know, Midwestern, for example, diet of meat and potatoes at every meal, going from that to all of a sudden learning how to live in a fasting diet. You just can't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. Like the reason why I lost so much weight, I kind of forgot that grain existed. I was just basically eating raw vegetables because I just didn't know how to cook. I did not know how to cook, and I accidentally cut out protein. It was bad. It was not good. And you know, I think Father Nick ended up giving me a Lenten cookbook, and the first chapter in it was basically an apologetic for beans. And I was like, oh, this is like, how to, like, I just discovered beans exist. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Oh my goodness, you can get protein from a vegan diet, which is something that I hear a lot nowadays. You have these people with these kind of fad diets, and they're like, I need to eat meat during the fast because I need protein, and it's like, there's a lot of protein in a Lenten diet, but the challenge is knowing how to eat a Lenten diet, which is why, you know, we recommend for new people to take it slow the first few times, you know? Like during the first time you're doing Great Lent, maybe just Monday, Wednesday, Friday avoid meat, whatever. But so yeah, you know, if you have a spiritual practice that you want to try out, check with your priest first.
Yeah, I think that's wise. I mean, and if you're shy to do that, at least talk to your sponsor, talk to your godparent,
right?
Because they're likely to say, you know, I did exactly that same thing and it didn't work. You can do it if you want, but it's not going to work. You know, so this is one of the reasons, especially that for the young American folks who are coming to Orthodoxy, it's very important to choose a good sponsor, because you want to have some person that you're pulling into your team, right? Because, okay, we're kind of spoiled here in this parish. We have 3 priests that are pretty much you can get to them anytime. That's unusual in probably North American Orthodoxy as a rule. Nonetheless, we're not available 24/7, 365. It just doesn't work that way. But your sponsor is, because they promised to be.
There you go.
And so I think that it's
throw them under the bus.
Yeah, throw them under the bus. But I think that's where we should often start. You know, it's one thing, okay, you have a sponsor, you're an infant, maybe that person isn't really part of your life anymore, whatever. But like when you're 20-something or late teen or whatever, and you're choosing someone, choose someone that's going to help you in your spiritual life. And so if people make that choice and they talk about it with them, they're likely to get a decent answer. And a lot of times the answer might be just go talk to one of the priests.